Remember, those guys release a new album, Icon, in October. And the sun continues to shine on the Headbangers Ball New Talent Special. And right now, I'm joined by two members of Stone Temple Pilots. A warm welcome to Wayland and Robert. Now, how are you guys doing?
Great.
Yeah, we're doing really good. We just got here a couple of days ago. Reading Festival, then Puka Pop Festival, then here today at Lowlands.
And also Reading, which I believe went really well for you.
Yeah, it was great. It's cool because a couple of the bands that were at the festival, both Reading and the Puka Pop Festival, were a couple of bands that we were on tour with throughout the summer, so it was an opportunity to kind of, see some friends again.
If we could turn the clock back just a few weeks to the Barbecue Mitzvah tour in America, where you were on tour with Butthole Surfers. From the reports we had over from the States, that seemed like it was kind of a lot of fun. There was a lot of surprises on the tour. You spent so much time on the road. Does that kind of help you to keep things fresh?
I think what helps to keep things fresh is writing new music, writing new songs. We've been playing the same album for about a year now. It was a lot of fun on the last tour because there were great bands. There was Firehose, Flaming Lips, Butthole Surfers, and Basshead, and so it was a real eclectic sort of mix of different types of music. That helped to keep it kind of fresh from night to night.
Because in America, Core has sold something like 2 million copies and has spent months on the Billboard album charts. I was wondering, Robert, have you actually had time to kind of sit back and actually enjoy your success?
We actually haven't enjoyed any of our success yet due to the fact that we've been on the road so much. It just seems like the road keeps us so busy. Sometimes you wonder what's going on with the whole career.
Sometimes you wonder what's going on with the outside world, if there is anything like an outside world that actually exists. It's kind of like living in a bubble.
I mean, how can you actually kind of guard against like tour burnout? Because last year Pearl Jam had spent so much time on the road that they just like totally burnt out. How can you kind of guard against that?
I don't know. I think, like I said, when you're out and you're with the band members and you're writing new material, it kind of helps. There was a couple of occasions when we had days off on the last tour where we went into a local studio and recorded a couple of songs. So keep that
creative
kind of thing happening, or else you just kind of feel like a puppet. You know what I mean? Like you're just kind of walking, wind-up toy.
Okay, well, we'll talk to Wayland and Robert some more in just a moment, but right now we're going to go into a video, and this is their brand new single from the album Core. This is actually my favourite song on the record, Plush. Headbangers Ball New Talent Special continues with more from Stone Temple Pilots. Wayland and Robert are still with me, and we're going to talk a little bit more, and just in the last segment there, we were talking about touring and all the different bands that you've played with. Do you think that the fact that you can play with so many different styles of music has kind of indicates that your music can cross a lot of boundaries? You don't really fit into one category?
Well, I think the overall soundscape of rock and roll has changed a lot. People who are typically into one form of rock music in this genre or that genre, I think those boundaries are being blurred a lot more now, and people are open to a lot more different types of sounds and stuff. So it's cool. I mean, last tour in the States with the Butthole Surfers, Flaming Lips, and Firehose, and the rest of those guys, it's like an indication. I mean, it's a very vast sort of billing.
Excellent. We talk a little bit more about Core. There are many different styles and moods on the album, which I felt was quite unusual for a debut effort. I was wondering, did that just happen coincidentally, or was it more of making a statement against being categorized?
I think it was just a reflection of what we were feeling at the time of writing the songs. I mean, a lot of emotions came out, and as a human being, you experience different emotions. You get sad, you get happy, you get frustrated, you get angry, and it just reflects in music. I think that's what it should be. It's an expression. So you have different moods, and it goes into your music.
Besides, everyone in the band has such a wide variety of influences. Each member. so all those different influences that, say, Robert or I or Dean or Eric grew up with, you know, all those things kind of manifest themselves into, you know, what it is that we collectively, you know, put together in a song.
And how did Brendan O'Brien help you in that regard in the studio, your producer?
Brendan's just basically into, you know, making good records. He doesn't have a certain kind of sound that's his production style that he tries to rub off on you know, a band that he's working with. I mean, there's such a, if you go from, he's produced an album for, you know, Dan Barrett, who used to be with Georgia Satellites, I mean, to us, to, you know, working with the Chili Peppers, Black Crowes, so I mean, there's real vast sort of thing.
Okay then, well, we've got a commercial break coming up right now. We are going to talk to Stone Temple Pilots some more, and we're going to give you a one-off exclusive preview of their new video for Wicked Garden. But taking us into the break, we're going to have a little look at STP live here at the Paradise Festival, and we'll see you a bit later on.
I am standing like a roll. Somebody gave me, 'cause I'm dead and blockhead. Oh yeah, yeah. And she says it's natural. I feel a come on, babe. When she thinks it's time to run. Oh yeah, yeah. And she says it's natural. I feel a come on, babe. When she thinks it's time to run.
That was the Peace Dogs, the Devil Dog, getting the Headbangers Ball New Talent Special back underway. And as you can see, I'm still with Stone Temple Pilots. Wayland and Robert are chilling out with me before they go on stage this afternoon. And a little bit earlier, actually, a question for you, Wayland. You mentioned that the band has a lot of very diverse influences, and I believe that you kind of come from a punk sort of background. And I was interested because...
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a punk background. When I was younger, growing up, I didn't have an older brother or sister to really turn me on to, you know, the classic rock kind of, which is now, you know, like really the Led Zeppelin and that kind of thing, and Black Sabbath, that whole genre. I didn't really get turned on to that until Robert. I actually met Robert, and he had this huge old record collection. When I first really got turned on to music was when I moved to the LA area when I was 15, and friends that I met, you know, were into everything from punk rock to even just, you know, like the Specials to all kinds of, you know, RATM, whatever. And so there are some punk rock bands that I, you know, grew up in and always have liked and still, you know, own records by. Probably just stuff that I was turned on to, you know, around in high school when I moved into that.
No, I just wondered because the vocals on your album are very, very dynamic. There's a lot of different textures, a lot of different moods, and it's one of the things that kind of, for me, sets you apart. And I wondered, where did you get the experience for that from? Has it just come naturally, or, you know, have you had training? Or?
I've never really had any real training. I mean, I've probably just been trial and error, basically, playing in garage bands since I was 16. So, I mean, I guess whatever works and whatever doesn't work, you just kind of find out for yourself.
And it seems to be working, doesn't it? I mean, if I could kind of be devil's advocate, Robert, here, some journalists have criticised Stone Temple Pilots as kind of jumping on the grunge bandwagon with bands like Pearl Jam. I'd like to give you the chance to answer that kind of accusation.
First off, I think the media were the people who jumped on the bandwagon of trying to categorize bands into some neat little niche that they could call, and it happened to be called the Seattle Sound, which I don't think the bands from Seattle even like that little name either. So I think it was, whether it was the record industry or the media themselves, of trying to make a little category that they could sell for money's sake. That's not what we're about. By no means did we jump on any bandwagon to try to create or cash in or whatever. We're actually just basically making music, and I think that's what everyone else out there is trying to do right now, whether it be from Seattle, whether it be from New York, whether it be from Europe, whether it be from Australia. I think everyone's just trying to basically say something, and you can't always believe what you hear and read.
And also, I think to categorize those bands is actually doing them a disservice, because they don't all sound the same anyway. So, just saying,
Grunge is a media invention. I mean, and it's also the stuff that you pick from between your toes after a long day at work.
Can we talk about Sex Type Thing now? Because that's an interesting song from the lyrical point of view, that you wrote it from the point of view of another person. Are there any other songs on Core where you employed that technique?
No, I don't really set out to follow any kind of format. I don't really set out with any sort of, pre-planned, predisposed idea of how I'm going to, approach writing lyrics, because I just write words all the time. It was just something that I was thinking about. It was on my head, swimming around inside my head, and I just decided I'd approach it that way. Instead of trying to, put up some flag and ride some flagship for any kind of super moral issue. I just thought it would be a little bit more interesting to do it that way.
Definitely. Okay, well, if you'll stay with me just a few more moments, we're going to just talk a little bit more, but right now we've got a very special video on the way for you now. You won't have seen it anywhere else apart from Headbangers Ball, because we're going to show you an exclusive presentation of Stone Temple Pilots' new video for Wicked Garden. Okay, well, Wayland and Robert have got to shoot off in just a moment. They're playing live here at the Paradise Festival, and just very quick final question for you. What are you going to be doing over the next few months? Because you've got some shows coming up with Fishbone, haven't you?
We've got some shows going up with Fishbone here in Europe. We go home for about 3 weeks after that. About a week of that time, we're going to be hooking up with Brendan, our producer, and over in Atlanta. And we're going to try to record a couple of the songs that we've just recently written. Then we're going to head out to Australia, New Zealand, and Japan to finish up, finally putting an end to touring this album. And probably after the first of the year, start working on the next one.
Okay, because I think you might be playing a new song. Is it called Lounge Fly here today? Tell us a little bit. Was that just written fairly recently?
That was a song that we actually wrote on a jet. And
when we were doing one of those little James Bond flights from place to place.
We were doing the movie awards, and we had to, after that, do a show down in San Diego. And the only way down was to take a jet, and we flew down there real quick, and turbulence prevailed, and we came up with Lounge Fly.
Okay, well, congratulations for your album Core, and it's beginning to do really, really well in Europe now. Well deserved indeed. And thanks very much for taking time to join me on the Headbangers Ball. And we hope to catch up with you again soon. And all the best to you both. Thank you very much to Wayland and Robert. We're going into another commercial break right now, and we're going to show you a little bit more Stone Temple Pilots live. But stay tuned, because Rage Against the Machine are coming up after this.
I said I said I'm gonna